isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 21113.2. The Simps are in full retreat. They couldn't handle my IP torpedoes, nor the fallout from those particular warheads. IP, by the way, stands for Identity Politics. Once I detonated half a dozen, they couldn't help but infight to see who was the most oppressed. Welcome everyone to This Week at Twitter, or Twat. Today we don't have many subjects to go through, and there's a reason for it. This tweet should help. I tweeted this out just after the election. In 2016, I had to turn off my Facebook because of how aggressive things got with Brexit and the US election. I think I'm going to take the mute button on a date. In 2016, I basically unfriended every person I knew on Facebook because I was so sick and tired of the complaining, the blaming, the shouting, the screaming, the arguing, and the constant peen-waggling contests. One of the only reasons I kept Facebook was because back then I didn't know how to simply download all my photos. I will at some point bother to do that so I can just deactivate it. But the overarching point of me turning off my social media was because of how aggressive people got because of something that meant a lot to them. With Brexit, it was because most people I knew were Remain voters, looking to point and blame, and with me voting Leave but not saying that I voted Leave, I decided to remain silent. Muting people was one option, and on Twitter in 2016 I was a far smaller Twitter user, but even I knew how divisive the result was. Many calling for the abolition of the Electoral College, along with claims of electoral corruption and Russian influence. As the US election has still yet to be truly announced, I don't want to be involving in that, and I really mean that. Beyond speaking of it on my political recap show with Trups LP, link below, tonight 9:30 PM, I don't want to talk about it, because it is still open, and it will be for quite some time. If it is not truly resolved, whoever is president next year is going to be lumped in with the word illegitimate and corrupt, whether you want them to be or not. Because of that and all the criticisms, arguments, shouting, screaming, raging, I was unable to find things that were not related to the US election, but I did find one that was funny and we'll get to it soon. So I do apologise now that this week at Twitter is a little bit sparser than usual. So to start, I'm going to go with a tweet from aQuizzical, who had actually sent this to me via a Twitter DM. It concerns a video he made about another channel akin to that of Mr. Gear, that niche little pocket that had a moment in the sun but no one now cares about. And I have many issues as a former chemistry student when it comes to the air quotes 1,000-degree knife. It's not 1,000 degrees, I promise you that. It really isn't. This particular niche is one that when I went and looked and found their channel and looked at videos, I noticed I've got ads on these. The thumbnails are clickbaity beyond belief because they imply that with many other things they do, they run over inanimate objects, but also animals. So I went and watched the videos. They don't. They really don't. And it's frustrating beyond belief that channels can clickbait to this level and get quite a bit of criticism, not that you'd see in their comments, as they're all disabled. Yeah, much brave I see, but also get a lot of views and upvotes. aQuizzical is quite right to call this out, not just for the clickbait, but because of the bad message it sends. Some people are impressionable, and if given the chance, they will try and reenact it. Not something I'd recommend if you like having teeth. Oh, and before we move on, using a kitten with rather badly edited BLOOD on the thumbnail, much classy. Everyone should, by the way, go subscribe to aQuizzical. I have linked them in the description down below, and if you see my video aQuizzical, comment, and I can pin you. That way, people will know it's you, and they can go straight to your channel and subscribe. Next, we're going to go to ABC News, and with this, we're going to talk about the US presidential election-ish. In the sense that ABC News thought, that on November the 5th, when there were fireworks in the United Kingdom, that we were celebrating Joe Biden, air quotes, winning, end air quotes, the US presidential election. And I say winning because it has yet to be truly resolved. So they tweeted out, fireworks lit up in the night sky over London, England, after Joe Biden was characterized to be the apparent winner of the presidential election, with many people pointing out that that's not why we had fireworks. Now, typically in the United Kingdom, from the 4th until like the 7th, maybe 8th, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, we let off fireworks. The reason why is because on November the 5th, it is bonfire night. Even with UK lockdowns happening to various degrees in various nations of the United Kingdom, we still have them. And they've been pretty loud, pretty aggressive, but they are celebratory for one of the greatest patriots to ever exist in our country's history, Guy Fawkes. Remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. Do I need to continue that particular nursery rhyme? On November 5th, Guy Fawkes attempted to blow up Parliament. Sadly, he was rumbled, and yes, he and his patriots sadly are no longer with us, all suffering rather unfortunate fates. However, we were not celebrating Joe Biden, although it is equally likely he was in fact around in 1605 when the Catholic zealots decided they wanted to blow up Parliament to assassinate King James I, and of course by extension overthrow Protestant rule. The final subject I want to cover concerns the UN. For this we go to a tweet sent to me by Merlene Schuh. If I've mispronounced your name, I am very sorry. The UN tweet that was retweeted to myself and Sugar Tits is a 4-part tweet from the UN Watch. China, newly elected to the UN Human Rights Council, just reviewed the US human rights record. China wishes to recommend the US 1. Root out systematic racism, address widespread police brutality, no level of irony, and to combat discrimination against African and Asian Americans. Does this include the Russians? 2. Urge politicians to respect people's rights to life and health and stop politicizing and stigmatizing the China virus pandemic. 3. Take holistic measures to eliminate political polarization and social inequality. That never happened because you have a 2-party system, unlike China that has a 1-party system. I guess you don't have the... No, we'll take this seriously. 4. Combat the increasingly severe religious intolerance. And xenophobic parties. 5. Stop incarcerating migrants, including migrant children, and guarantee the rights of migrants. I am biting my tongue so hard it might start bleeding. 6. Address proliferation of guns and guarantee people's rights to life. I'm assuming this was because they noticed gun sales went through the roof when Biden was projected the winner. 7. Lift coercive unilateral measures. Ooh, that's a serious one. 8. Stop torture in anti-terrorist operations and halt military intervention in other countries and stop killing civilians. It's a serious one. Bit ironic. 9. Stop interfering for political reason in other countries' internal affairs under the pretext of... To quote the US, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Something I say on a regular basis to my nieces when they try to refuse to eat something put on their plate at dinner time. We don't negotiate with terrorists. And a potato is a vegetable, so you do eat vegetables. When China got elected to the Human Rights Council, I thought of the UN as even more of a joke than usual, because Saudi Arabia used to be on that, and their human rights are also very, very squeaky clean, just like China's. The majority of the points in this seemed a bit, well, they seemed to be almost a self-reflection about one's own country, but projected onto another. Now there are serious points within them, of course there are, but when it comes from the mouth of China, nobody takes you seriously, and the only reason you elected China there is to give them some kind of social credit score boost within other nations, because Trump has put you guys down and you don't like it, and nor does anyone else because they don't like Trump being in charge. The UN, like the World Health Organization, are a joke. A running joke that writes their own jokes. And it is tragic that this kind of stuff gets put forward on a regular basis. I'm not remotely interested in taking China seriously at any level, because you guys are an absolute hassle. I know that by comparison to usual this week at Twitter's, this is far less than normal, but hopefully the spurgery will end and next week it will be back to regular programming. So if I don't see you tonight for the political recap stream with Trups LP, I hope you have a fantastic Friday and subsequent weekend, and thank you all for listening.